Good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to be here as always. I feel so blessed to commune with the energies of you all and receive along with you all the healing power of gathering. I've been guided to share this morning some words on the topic of embracing challenges. I was speaking with Natalie and our spiritual leader, Natalie, and one of the things that we were chatting about recently is challenges that we were both going through, and then challenges also in our community, our Unity of Toledo community. There's been some challenges going on, and what came through is this call to share on embracing challenges. To begin, I'd like to bring in some wisdom of the body. I like to do that as a way to open up our minds. So, when a challenge comes at us, sometimes we see it coming from a long distance, and sometimes it's quick and it just, boom, it's there and we didn't see it coming. And sometimes there's a medium build up to it. There's all different ways that challenges come in. And sometimes the challenges we take on ourselves. We consciously choose to step into a challenge. But no matter in what way it does arrive, it comes towards us. And so often, as humans, the tendency is to get tight. It's to close down. It's to brace ourselves for the challenge. So it's like this, right? Our body gets tense. We protect our heart. We close in. We might even close our eyes. It's kind of like going to the dentist. So, the drill comes at us and we're like, we cringe, we tense up, we try to protect ourselves. And that is the physical body's way of preparing for this challenge, because the body thinks that it's helping by getting tense. But what if we explored together how it would feel to embrace a challenge by, when we're seeing it coming, instead of doing this, what if we did this? What if we, and maybe you could do it with me now in your chair, wherever you are in the world, opening your hands wide, opening your arms up, exposing your heart, and just feel how that feels. Going from this to this. Now you might say, Anya, this feels really scary. And you're right. But how would our journey change if we approached it like this, whenever possible? How would the whole experience of going into the challenge transform if we began from a place like this? Okay, God, here it comes. I'm open. What do you have to teach me? I'm open as best I can. Now, yes, when we do this, there's still parts of us probably that are going to be a bit tense, and that's fine. We're not asking for perfection here. We're not striving for perfection. It's the opposite of what we're doing. We're just gently imagining a different way to initiate that process of challenge, because it is a process. A challenge is a process of transformation, of growth. What else could it be? We all know, if we're here, sitting here with this Unity of Toledo community, we all know that part of the reason how we got here, this very beautiful mystical approach to spirituality, is we, to some extent, have evolved beyond the belief that God punishes us, right? We don't believe that God is a vengeful God, and we don't believe that God is just tossing down curses at us if we mess up. We don't believe that anymore. What we believe is God is a loving God, and God gives us opportunities and challenges to help us grow. So we embrace the challenge by opening ourselves to the wisdom that it contains. Some challenges are big, some are small. And all of us as human beings, we have challenge. That is what unites us. So what is the purpose? What is the ultimate purpose of a challenge? Well, the way that I've experienced it, I've seen the purpose of a challenge to be building spiritual muscle. There's really nothing else. It's like a workout session going to the gym. When we go to the gym to build our physical body, our physical endurance, our physical strength, the challenges that appear to us throughout all of life, our daily life, give us that opportunity to build our spiritual stamina and physique. One way that this happens is through the periods of challenge, trial, suffering. We are put in situations where it's very easy and it's very tempting to reach for those addictive things, substances, people, environments, activities that could dull the full sensation of what it is we're experiencing. Anything can be an addiction. You know, when we hear the word addiction, we tend to categorize it in very obvious ways, smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, heroin, like these really intense things, right, that are quite obviously toxic for our bodies. But we can have addictions to many different things, and we're all different what we gravitate towards. For some of us, it's relationships. We look for another to fill us, and we come towards another being in a sense of neediness, not remembering our own Christ self within. For others of us, our addiction might be food. We eat when we're not hungry, when we're not physically hungry. We eat just to fill that emotional void. For others of us, it might be adopting too many animals. Do you ever know someone who has like too many cats, and you're like, whoa, what's going on there? You can't really take care of that many cats. Why do you have so many cats? What is it that you're trying to medicate within yourself? And so when we think about embracing suffering, instead of flinching from it, we think about how this is an opportunity to feel some intense emotion, intense human emotion, fear, anger maybe, grief, sadness, loneliness, all these emotions that we really would prefer not to feel. The challenging situation, the challenging process brings up all these feelings, right? It's a bouquet of negative feelings that are coming at us, right? So we're like this, and we're like, oh my gosh, here they come. Here comes all the negative emotions that I'm going to have a choice to feel or not. I don't know if you're familiar with the beautiful healer Brene Brown. She has this TED Talk that is one of the most famous talks on YouTube ever. And it's called The Power of Vulnerability. Have you seen it? And one of my favorite parts of that talk is it always sticks in my mind. She talks about how when we're feeling negative feelings, we just want to reach for that banana muffin and the beer. Right? And I always think about that. Like, if we have the urge to reach for the banana muffin and the beer, we have that urge because it'll numb those uncomfortable feelings that want to be seen by us. But we choose to numb it through the banana muffin and the beer. What we're essentially doing is delaying our spiritual progress. And that's okay. Sometimes we're not able to always be constantly evolving. This is not a judgment that I'm putting on you. There are those times when it's okay to stay where we are. But there are those times when we're ready to evolve. And that always necessarily involves feeling uncomfortable feelings and not self-medicating through our addictive behaviors. I was just counseling a beautiful soul this morning, urging him to cry. He's going through a period of loneliness. And I was talking about the necessity of crying, and especially as a male, because males are conditioned to stuff their feelings down, become very rigid and cold, and not feel what they're feeling in their heart. And I was just advising this person to just allow the tears to flow, basically. And that through the tears flowing, he would be able to reach the next level of evolution. So the purpose of challenge is to put us in a specific situation where we are building that spiritual muscle. And isn't that wonderful? Isn't that a gift? I'd like to invite you to reference now. Think of a time in your life that was really, really challenging. Allow whatever to come up in your memory now. What was a time in your life that was very challenging? Just think of it now. Think of how you felt. Think of how scared you were, how confused. You can replay some of the memories of that period of time in your mind here. Oh boy, wasn't that hard? Didn't that test the very core of your being? Didn't that ruffle your feathers to the most extreme? And now, I'd like to invite you to ponder with me, what was the key lesson or lessons that you learned as a result of that challenging period? Maybe you learned a new healing modality because you were forced to go within and heal yourself, and you had to come up with a strategy. You had to learn something new. Maybe it was a new relationship, a new way of relating to people. Maybe it was a new depth of compassion that you learned. Maybe it was a wise understanding of how the universe works. What was it that you got out of that challenge? You know, so often when we see the challenge coming, or when we're presented with an option to dive into the challenge or just kind of avoid it, well, what we'd like to do is just snap our fingers and acquire the lesson, but without the pain, but without the suffering part of it. And that's, again, it's completely understandable, but not how the universe works. You know, for those of you who do like aerobic exercise, running, lifting weights, even yoga, any kind of exercise really, You know the feeling that you get when you're done working out? And it's more than just a physical feeling. It's more than just an endorphins rush. It's something beyond that. It's the knowing that you chose to do that. You know, you could have easily sat on the couch and ate some potato chips, but you chose to step into those uncomfortable sensations. I mean, working out is not, I mean, some people like it. I don't know about you, but when I'm actually doing it, I'm not wanting to do it. But when you're done, you feel proud of yourself. You feel like, wow, I really did that. Wow, I did something there. It's a feeling of accomplishment. So I do believe that the universe gives us these challenging periods to not only build our spiritual muscle, but to give us an opportunity to just feel proud of ourselves once we've emerged out of that period, looking back and saying, whoa, I did that. And then not only that, but you have that wisdom now deep within your core, and you can then share it with others. You know, as well as I do, that the best teachers are the ones who have gone through the most hardship. The ones who had a relatively smooth sailing childhood. I mean, those teachers are beautiful. But it tends to be that the ones who speak to us the most are the ones who say, you know, I've been there. I know what that feels like. I've been there. I've went through that. So we build that empathy for others, and we can hold space for them when they're going through challenging periods as well. About 7 years ago now, I was still battling a lot of health issues. I was very weak, physically and emotionally and spiritually, mentally. I mean, I was weak. And I had been listening to a lot of spiritual talks, and I started to notice a pattern. I started noticing that the spiritual teachers that had the most insight were the ones who had done this crazy thing called surrender. The thing that makes no sense to the logical mind whatsoever. But it kept coming up. I kept hearing it. Surrender, 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 surrender. What is this surrender that they spoke of? And I lay in bed this one morning. I will never forget. It might have been about 10 o'clock in the morning. The light was just coming in through the window. And I was just buried under a million blankets. I was so tired and exhausted, and I'd been through this healing journey. I wanted to get well. I'd been to all these healers and doctors and tried all these different things, and I was exhausted. Emotionally, spiritually, mentally exhausted. And it's like I reached this turning point. And I prayed a prayer that said something like this: Dear God, I would like this to be the lifetime where I wake up. I would like this to be the lifetime where I reach full enlightenment. So please send me any and all circumstances that will force me to wake up. I surrender. As soon as I prayed that prayer, a chill ran down my spine, and I knew that I could not and didn't want to take back those words that I had uttered. For what I was essentially saying is, I am done chasing pleasures. I'm done trying to always be happy all the time, chasing a good life. What I want is something deeper. What I want is to know the Christ within me for real. There's a worshiping of the Christ, and then there's the coming to the point when you start to long for the Christ to dwell within you as a 24/7 lived experience. So I recognize that in order to get to that point, challenges would have to come. They would have to. I would have to do this instead of this. So I opened to it, and I said that to the universe. And since then, I've probably prayed that same prayer 2 or 3 other times. And that prayer has brought me to my knees. And I don't underestimate the power of that prayer. Maybe one day you will pray a prayer such as this, or maybe you have already prayed a prayer such as this. And I speak to you with such an earnestness and such a humility in my heart, being blessed to have this lifetime where I can see the connection between challenge and awakening. Praise be to God that I see it, and I wish for each of you to see it as well. And it's not easy, and I don't pretend that it's easy. And there's days that we just don't feel like doing it. There's days that we don't feel like doing this. We're just like, I just want to stay in bed. But here we are on this beautiful Sunday morning, and there's something in you that longs and yearns for more. So I invite you to keep open as much as possible to all the challenges that come, to embrace the challenges with as much love in your heart as is possible. And you're not always going to sail through it, but holding that intention to embrace the challenge rather than fight it, to surrender to the Christ light and allow it to enter your heart. Blessings to each and every one of you. Thank you for offering me this space to share this morning. Namaste.